That's better. What's up? Today we're gonna be giving my client the blurriest taper. I'm gonna show you the exact steps that how I did it so that you can do it too. But there's also some things that I wanna do today, so we're gonna multitask. Look, I just got some yard work done. I'm a mess right now, and I need to cut my hair. I need to wash my hair, so let's go. All right, just washed my hair. Let's get this haircut. Hey guys, so this is future me, and I was looking at the footage and I realized that the audio was completely up during the haircut portion where I'm explaining what I'm doing. Now I just want to use the guard in between. It is what it is. Here's the first step. So you want to take your number 4. I'm using my number 4 only because this is the length that my client likes on the side. So I take my number 4, I shave down the sides, and I'm constantly flicking out around the parietal ridge area because we want to leave the bulk there. We want to give it a nice square shape to the cut. And you notice how in the back of this cut, we brought it up pretty high. This is only because this is what the client prefers. I know that the style nowadays is to kind of drop the blend in the back and leave some bulk there to kind of have the hair kind of sticking out. But my client is not 15 years old, so we're not doing that. So now we take my trimmer and we set our first guideline. This is probably the harshest guideline we're gonna set. But notice how I'm still flicking out at the end there. I'm not setting it very harsh. It's very rare that you're gonna see me set a harsh guideline in this because I just wanna make things easier for myself when it comes to blending. And then after that, you take your shaver, clean up all his face and everything because there's gonna be little hairs growing, little stubbles. Just clean it up all the way down to skin. Using a shaver is amazing because it's gonna give your client an extra few days with the cut and it's gonna make your fade look extra clean, especially when you're doing bald fades. Here I'm just clipping up the hair from the top away from the sides because I don't want to accidentally cut any of that, because now we're about to do clipper over comb, and you want to make sure when you're using clipper over comb to angle your comb outwards. Wait, where's my comb? Let me show you actually. So take your clipper comb and instead of it going inwards like this, have it going out more like this, because you don't want to dig in and bring the shape of the haircut in too much. You're gonna have to take your fade up high. It just doesn't look as good. Here we're just blending the parietal ridge area to the number 4 length that we did on the side. So this is how it looks before we use clipper over comb and after. And then sometimes I'll take my scissors and do scissor over comb as well, just to further detail it, to make sure it's flowing and blending nicely. Now we're taking our number 2. This is also part of setting a foundation. We're doing our number 2, and then we're just taking down just the fading area basically, because we're setting now the foundation of the section that we want to fade from the 0 all the way up to the 4. Okay, and now I'm using my clipper open. Notice how aggressive I am with flicking out because I don't want to create any harsh guidelines at all. We're fading here, and when you're flicking out and you're not creating harsh guidelines, you're able to create a very blurry blend a lot faster, and this is what enables you to skip steps. And when you're able to skip steps and when you can cut faster, you can make more money. Easy. So now look, you're gonna notice a pattern here. So here I start with my clipper open, and then as I go down closer to that first bald guideline, I close my clipper. And you're gonna notice a pattern here. Every time I switch guards, I'm gonna start with my clipper open and then close it as I go down. This is very, very important. Like, look how clean this blend looks already just by doing these few steps. And now to further blend the 0 now to the 2, in between that, we wanna take our 1 guard. 1 guard open, flake out, and then as you go down, close the clipper. Very, very simple, very straightforward. Make sure you're flicking. Because we set the foundation with our number 2 first, this really makes fading the 0 to the number 2 a lot easier. Because you know that you only have to use the guards between number 2 and 0, which is your half guard, your 1 guard, and your 1.5 guards. So now at this point, we're using my 1.5 guard. Same thing, open, flick out that line, make sure not to go up too high, and then go down on the fade just the tiniest bit as you're closing the clipper. You can hear your clipper cut, and when it stops cutting and you can tell that it's not cutting as much hair, then you go down a little bit lower on the fade, and then you close your clippers. That way you're cutting more hair. You also want to make sure that you're cutting against the grain, and you're always combing the hairs as you're cutting. Every few strokes, comb the hair. So this part isn't necessary, but I took my number 3 just to make sure that the shape of the haircut looks nice. We use the number 4 for the initial length tear down of the sides, and then we use the number 2 for the foundation. I'm just using my number 3 to make sure that the length between that is all good. And here I'm just using some detail work. I start with my blade open, using the corner of the blade
and I'm just looking for any inconsistencies and dark spots, looking at it from different angles, using the mirror. The mirror is very important. That is your best friend. You always want to make sure that you're looking at the fade from the mirror. It just gives you a different perspective. Sometimes I like to use my half guard as well, and I'm honestly just playing around with the lever, seeing what works, what doesn't. This is where your experience level comes in when you're fading, because the better your eye is trained to see the inconsistencies, the more you're able to blend out and detail, and your fade is just gonna come out much blurrier. So I think at this point of the tutorial, I went to get coffee, so let's go get some coffee. There she is, my baby. Just go to the drive-through. It's a pretty gloomy day right now, not gonna lie. Before I move on to the other side, I'm just lining him up because I wanna see how the finished product looks. I just like doing it this way. I'll double check later to make sure it's even on both sides, but I'm sure it's fine. Also, here we are, Timmy's. Look how gloomy it is, guys. I love Timmy's. Hold up.
All right, can I for you?
Hi, could I get a medium iced coffee, please? Here, I'm just going back to the ridge area, and I'm using thinning shear over comb just to further soften up that area. That way the top really blends with the sides a lot smoother, because we don't want any hangover. We want it to lay nice and square to the fade. And now I'm gonna speed this part up, but we're just repeating the same steps on the other side. So now we're doing the back, and it's mostly the same steps. It's a little bit different.
Hello.
Hi, debit please. Thank you. Can I have a straw please? Thank you. Yo, I don't know about you guys. I hate when they hand me my coffee and they grab it from the top. Whenever I see them do that, I always order a straw. Yeah, this one hit. So for the back, I start with my number 1. And I think it's open, and then I close it just below the occipital bone area. And now I'm taking my Ghost X. This is my soft trimmer, and I'm setting my guideline. I'm using a soft trimmer because this trimmer specifically, by TPOB, isn't as sharp, but it does get it close enough for my foil shaver to get it down to skin, because the back of necks for most clients is usually more sensitive. To avoid any irritation or accidental like nicks or cuts, I'm using a soft trimmer on the back of my client's head. This trimmer is so good, especially for kids. Debulking with this trimmer, crazy. Oh shit, it's raining now. We're going to Home Depot, by the way, so I need to get a container. So let's go. Oh, it's starting to rain. You know, I don't know how this happened, but I might be the only Filipino in the world that can't sing. How did I not get that gene, bro? Okay, so now I'm going with my clipper open. You see how I'm flicking out though? I'm flicking out because I'm not trying to set a harsh guideline. Then as I'm going down, I'm closing my clipper. And by the time that you close your clipper, that guideline we set with our soft trimmer, because we didn't set it too harsh, it should be faded out. Then use your half guard, starting open, and then blend down all the way to closed. By this point, there should only be one harsh guideline, and that's gonna be around the occipital bone area, and where it's gonna be just a little bit too dark. And then that's where we're gonna take our number 2, and we're just blending the rest of this fade. We're just blending that 4 area to this 1 area that we just did. So I'm gonna take my 2 and then my 1.5, both guards starting with their clippers open and then closing it as we go down. And then I might even use my 1 guard just to further detail the blend. But if it looks faded, then it's faded, then we can move on. Fading is not rocket science. When you have a system like this in place, then fading becomes very easy. If you're gonna take anything away from this video, I recommend just starting with your clipper open, go 1/2 inch up in your blend, and then go downwards as you close that clipper. And you do that for every single guard. Eventually, once you get good enough and you're really flicking out, then you can skip steps, and then that's how you get faster at cutting hair. At this point, the blend should be mostly faded. Here, I'm just using my number 3 for good measure. Make sure it's fully blended out. I always finish my fades with some detail work. So here I'm just using my 0.5, again, starting with my clipper open and then closing it as I please, depending on what the fade needs. Okay, before we get to the top, I gotta go in, get a container because I needed to organize some stuff. So stay here.
Right, let's
get you in there. We got a container. Let's go home. Let me bring this container. Oh, that's a nice crotch shot. Let me show you guys what I'm doing first with this container. I just have all these camping gear and whatnot, and I just want to organize it. Like I have a bunch of random stuff I want to put all in here. I like keeping it nice and clean. I feel so exposed wearing shorts for you guys right now. But now it's time to do the top. And for the top, you want to make sure that you get your client all nice and wet before you cut it. Because if you cut your client dry, then when you're cutting the hair, one, it's gonna be harder to comb, and two, the hair's gonna fly everywhere. It's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna be mad itchy for your client. So make sure that you get your client wet first. Whatever you have to do to get him wet, you gotta do it. Okay, so now I'm taking a section and just like look at the section that I'm doing in the video. That's the section that I'm taking. I don't know what it's called right now. And this is part of the top now. I'm just combing it down to the sides because I want to see how it blends. And you can see there's a very rough line there. And so I take the section and I just trim it up. That way it flows nicely with the foundation that we created, that bed that we created on the sides. And now you see when I comb the hair forward, you can see how blended it looks, and it just looks very nice now. Okay, so go here, go there. So now I take a bigger section from about the middle of his hair and I comb it down to the right. And I'm taking such a huge section like this. Normally I would take much smaller sections, but I'm taking a huge section because his hair was already layered properly, his last haircut that we did. And the client doesn't want to take too much length off the top. So the middle of the hair is the longest part of the hair, making sure that when it is combed left or to the right, it's not hanging over. That's what we're doing here. During this, make sure that you're not cutting the bangs because the bangs is a whole separate like entity from the rest of the hair. We need the length on the bangs, otherwise if you cut it too short, it's gonna look awkward, your client's not gonna like it, and it's gonna look like a bad haircut. Do you guys go camping? Whether it's winter camping, summer camping, I'll camp all 4 seasons, bro. I love camping. Let me know in the comments below if you like camping as much as I do. I love camping. Oh, okay, hold up. Let's do this, that. Okay, look, all that stuff. Now it's on one little bin. And I gotta get rid of some of these jackets, dude. There's way too much. There's no need for a man to have this many jackets. I'm not a fashionable guy at all. I don't know why I have all that. Okay, we're gonna finish the video here. So now for the bangs, I just take a small section in the front of the bangs and I comb it down across his head because we wanna create a shape where the hair lays nice, the kind of nice square shape as opposed to it being too bulky at the front. And so we just take a small section first, we comb it down, and we just trim like about 1/2 inch, not even. Again, the client doesn't want to take too much off the top, and we're just trimming it so it sits nicely around and above the eyebrow. Especially when his hair curls, leave more hair. Don't cut as much because when it curls, it's gonna compress and it's gonna sit higher up than you want it to. And now I create a mohawk section going like this, because this is gonna be the foundation and the length that we wanna cut the rest of the tops. This is gonna be our guideline. And I take nice square layers here. So what does that mean? That means, where's my comb? So here's a little lesson. Naturally, our head rounds like this, right? And so it's a circle. I want the hair to sit square. So I'm cutting the hair straight across like this, as opposed to cutting the hair following the shape of his head. That means these hairs at the front are gonna be left longer than these hairs up here, because I want it to have a nice kind of square shape. It's gonna be, because our head sticks out here. I don't know if this is gonna make sense to any of you. I'm trying my best, okay? I'm just a bro. So now instead of going from front to back, we're going left to right, and we're taking just a little piece of that middle section that we just cut as our guideline, and we're using that as our guideline when we're cutting across the head. That way we get a nice even cut all the way around. And I'm point cutting everything too, because we want a nice soft finish to the top. We don't want like blunt cuts all the way into the top. This just gives it a better look. Okay, dude, I'm like crouched over right now. I need to, okay. Why? Oh God, I hope the audio is fine. Has this looked like this the whole time? Now it's time to style the top. This is a very crucial part, especially for beginner barbers. You wanna always take the time to style the top. I'm just getting my client wet once again, and we're just using curl spray this time to help bring the waviness and the curliness of his hair out, just getting that all over his head. And I'm using a diffuser to style the hair. Now, what is a diffuser? It's right here, actually. So what this does
is instead of the air being concentrated in a tiny area to blow the hot air, this diffuses the air. That way it's more heat coming out as opposed to air, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. You know, I'm not sure if I'm the right person you should be watching for tutorials. Anyway, this is the final result. I think that the taper came out clean. Honestly, I think I could have styled the top better. I honestly, if it were up to me, I would have left the length at the top. I thought that he had really good length, but 2 weeks from now when he comes back, it's gonna look too long. So I understand him wanting to cut it. It's fine, whatever, there's a cut, you're welcome.